Welcome to the Flight Club Podcast, a woman's guide to leaning out. We give you a behind-the-scenes look at business launch and growth through the stories of successful female entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Felina Hansen, founder and CEO of Hera Hub.
Hello and welcome. I'm excited for my conversation today with Alev Bakan, who is a certified health and nutrition coach and founder of Health and Co. She believes that being healthy is a personal journey and cannot be limited to copycat diets and, of course, standard approaches. She helps working women, primarily focuses on women in their 30s, create their roadmap to a healthy life by listening to themselves, understanding their needs, and adjusting to changes while, of course, enjoying their lives at the same time. Welcome to the show today, Alev.
Hi, thank you for having me. I feel very privileged to be a guest. Thank you so much.
I'm excited to tell your story and share your background and why you do what you do. Before we started today, you mentioned to me that you went to an all-girls school. Talk about that experience, and then how did that inform your college choices and ultimately your career?
Well, I am originally from Istanbul, Turkey. And I went to a French all-girl high school, so I was surrounded by strong and powerful woman role model. And since I didn't grow up with that male domination in my middle and high school, I think I was always programmed to be vocal about my beliefs and my ideas. And after that French education, I thought it will be better to add an American approach. That's why I choose to come to Washington, D.C., to George Washington University to have my international business and finance education.
Awesome. Okay. So I've been to Turkey once, only for a short period of time on a trip to Greece.
I see.
So it's really interesting that, from a cultural perspective, going to a French all-girls school and your perception of women and working together, of course, Hera Hub being a female-focused space. So perhaps you felt at home when you found us.
Yes. I think it's very important for women to encourage each other to be the best at what they are doing. And who can understand women better than women? So I think the guidance we receive from women and the genuine help that we can receive from women is very liberating and very empowering.
Yes, absolutely. Indeed. Well, wonderful. So you came to the U.S., you went to GW, you studied, is it business there?
Yeah, I study international business and finance. But to be honest with you, if I had a chance to go back to George Washington right now, I wouldn't study those fields. They are, of course, very good fields. And when I was studying, I was successful at that. And I did trading for 6 years. But I think from even that point, my whole thought was about health, being healthy and what being healthy means.
Interesting. Okay. So, and that's your current business, which we will certainly get into.
Yes.
You've been doing this for quite some time. It looks like 8 or so years. You've also been a wellness contributor for a magazine. But before that, you were in international trade. Talk about what you did there.
Well, I was manufacturing some X-ray films and other materials, it was still health related, like health care materials. And I was just doing some international business between Turkey and US.
Interesting. And how did you get involved in that?
Well, actually, it was a part of my family business. And to be honest with you, my family wanted always me to continue the family business. So I was programmed to study international business, finance, and then continue on that road. But then after 6 years, I said, I done my share. I am done with this. I want to now build my own way and continue on my own path.
Awesome. And so what made you make the decision to then seek education in integrative nutrition?
Well, of course, always like being surrounded by women. So you have a lot of, you hear a lot of like stories, remarks, and you hear problems about like appearance, sizes, weight. And you also realize how it's a big chunk of a woman's life. And since I was with older women, like teachers and my parents and everybody, I realized that, they focus so much on the numerical issues, like the weight, the size you are, but they never focus on the feelings. And they also don't realize that all these talking, they affect the children. So as a little girl, I was also becoming aware of the weight, of the diets and everything. And I don't think that's a wise way to raise a child. Of course, my parents, they never made me do diets, and I was a healthy kid always. And my mom was a very good example about that. But still, things that you hear, commercials that you see, everything, they program the children and young females to be in a certain way. But then after I have my kids, and I also had some miscarriages, then one day, and I also tell this in my own story too, after my miscarriage, 3 months later, it was Halloween, and I came back from trick-or-treating with the kids, and suddenly I found myself eating this whole box of candy. But I don't even like candy that much. And then during that time, I was also started getting my education for health coaching. So then I realized that everything that I'm studying about health coaching, about being healthy, like punishing yourself with food, controlling your emotions with food, I was doing that to myself. So then I said, you know what, I need to do something and help women to talk about those things, like to make healthy living very personal, and also something other than numerical values, like a whole concept about wellness, about finances, about career decisions. Everything we have in our life is making an impact on our health. So I wanted to take this whole approach on women health.
It's so important. I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because we don't talk about these things, right? I mean, maybe here or there with a girlfriend, but really to have an opportunity to connect with somebody and talk about all aspects of our lives and the decisions that we're making and the commitments that we have is unique, frankly, right? I mean, a lot of us, see a therapist, and there might be an opportunity to talk a little bit, but usually that's more of like what's going on in your brain versus what's going on in your life as a whole, right? Yes. So the health coaching piece and being able to have a partner and somebody to talk to about what's happening, especially for women in their 30s, I think, we change throughout our lives, but I know reflecting back on my 30s, that was a big change, right? We go from being a certain way and being able to do things to our body that we did in our 20s, and our body changes in its 30s. And to your point, a lot of folks are looking to perhaps start a family around that time. And so your health is such a big part of that.
Yes, and also this is another example of why we should focus on our 30s, because we, in of course, from young age, we are all programmed to do some things, like our parents, the society is pushing us. So in our 20s, we go to college and then we become young professionals. We are like, when you are like toward the end of your 20s, you are more free, like you are a young professional. And then you turn to 30s and suddenly the society is putting a big responsibility on you. You have to start a family, have kids, be advanced in your career, and then, and then move on to your 40s and everything. But it's also important to question all these decisions and shed your layers and see if what is the true yourself wants to do, and I think all these things are impacting our health and wellness. What do you want to do with your finances, and are you able to do it, or are you following a guideline pushed you to by the society? Do you want to have the kids now in your early in your 30s or later in your 30s, and also maybe never, so all these decisions, they are very important decisions impacting our health, and they are made in our 30s. So I think it's very important to look at yourself from the whole point of view, and making those decisions also impact our health too. And I think usually what I see is women in their 40s, then they come to a certain part in their life and they say that, oh my gosh, I wish I have my wisdom, the clarity I have now. I wish I had them in my 30s. So I want to have this program and have the women in their 30s to have the tools to have that wisdom and use that wisdom in their 30s, so that they can have better use of their 40s and beyond too. Because 40s also, it's another changing time. Our hormones are changing, everything is changing again. So I think 30s is a good preparation time for the 40s and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about how you work with your clients. Do you work one-on-one? Do you have group programs? And talk about some of the things you do with your clients.
Well, I have both. I have personal programs, and because I think health is a very personal journey. But I also have group programs for women in their 30s to be able to join, because some people, they work better in community. They want to learn from themselves. They want to learn other people's experience. So I have both services. But in both services, I approach health, like I said, in a very 360-degree way. So we talk about everything. We talk about diets, we talk about exercise, we talk about finances, saying no to things that we don't want to commit to, understanding our emotions, and creating healthy habits and how to transform those habits according to our life changes in the future, in our 40s, 50s, and beyond. So even if you have personal or group programs, we take a very good care of you.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you typically find your clients, or how do they find you, I guess?
Well, Hera Hub was a very nice outlet for me. And I think I found most of my clients through word of mouth. Like, a happy client refer me to another person. And I also sometimes get some referrals from practitioners and healthcare professionals.
Awesome. Awesome. Do you have a story you can share, Alev? Perhaps an example of a client that you've worked with, obviously not using names, but just so our listeners can kind of get a sense of, that process.
Yeah, well, most of the time my clients come to me and say that either they want to, lose weight and be in a certain size, and they just start with trendy diets. And I had this client, and she wanted to be in a certain size, and also she wanted to make changes in her diet. But then talking to her, we realized that what is pushing her to eat and getting out of that healthy cycle, because she was forming that cycle and then she was getting out of that cycle, was that she was so unhappy in her relationship with her partner. And of course, we found that out by talking, by doing some journaling and trying to find out the source of the problem. Because I think without seeing the source of the problem, you cannot create a long-term change. You can do maybe a temporary patch. You can lose weight and be a certain size, but then that problem will come back. So, and then she was able to set her limits, her priorities. She was able to get her finances intact. And then she was able to tell her feelings and her expectation to her partner, and which made a big change in her relationship. And then she was able to build that healthy system, lose weight, get even in a smaller size than she was expecting, but nothing like forceful, nothing like, because she regulated her life, and she was very happy with her results. And now, being like 3 years after finishing her program, she is still very healthy, living a very good and a nice life.
Yeah, it's so important, right? Because we've all heard this statistic, 80% of people who lose, a significant amount of weight don't keep it off, right? They gain that weight back, and a lot of times even more weight. And so really getting under what's happening emotionally to drive how we, what we put in our body, right, is so critically important. I'm guessing your clients don't meet that 80% mark, right? I bet most of them are able to keep the weight off then.
Yes, and it's not always about the weight, but yes, because I give them the tools to control their life. Weight, you can eat maybe 3 days in a row in like very, very like intense meals. You can go to a vacation and indulge and gain weight. But the most important part is when you go back to your routine, being able to go back to your routine. And when you go back to your routine, having a system that will keep you in track. So I think what we always think about, like losing weight or gaining weight, is, like stop eating, stop enjoying your life, and, always eat your asparagus and broccolis, then you will be healthy. No, you can indulge yourself. You can even gain weight. But the most important part is having the motivation to go back to your routine and having that healthy routine where you take care of every element of your life, so that you don't put your emotions on your eating, or you don't put your emotions on, I don't know, binging. So that's I think the most important part.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mentioned to you before we hopped on that I was just in Europe for almost a month, and I ate the last week. Week and a half. I was in Italy, and believe me,
my God,
a ton of pasta and pizza and all the things. But I think for me, I look at it, and I'll be 50 this year, it's about balance, right? It's,
Yeah.
if you're going to eat a plate of pasta, then go move
Yes.
before
Yes.
or after. So I averaged 10 to 12 miles a day every single day I was there.
Wow.
So,
Yes.
it's about balance, or that's the way I look at it.
Of course.
Yeah.
I think balance is very important in every part of our life, in our career, in our finances, in our health. So it's like, think of it as you are taking care of your bank account. So or any other thing in your life. So you have to work on it, but you have to also enjoy it. So I think the most important part is truly trying to make sense of what you are doing, not to do just things to do it. Like, even if it's a diet, even if it's a trendy diet, because sometimes the client came to me and they say, oh my God, I want to do this diet. And I'm like, why do you want to do this diet in your life? Why do you want to strict yourself if you don't have any health concerns or anything ordered by your doctor? So I think you have to first realize what you are doing, why you are doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and scary to see what's out there. I mean, what is that diabetes drug that people were taking to lose
my
weight?
God.
I mean,
Yes.
just horror. I can't believe what we do to our bodies.
And it's also, I think it's also the society now. Like, we want the results right away. Like, there are sometimes some of my clients came to me and they say, oh my God, I eat very healthy last week, but I didn't see any change in my body. Like, you cannot see the results right away. Sometimes you can do, in some, if you are maybe very overweight, the first pounds, they go off very easily, but they are not from your body fat. But the most important part, we now want the results right away. And sustainable results, they don't come right away. And we have to first understand this. We have to change things, make them a habit, and then see how they transform our whole life.
Yes, absolutely. So important. So let's talk about some of the things you're working on, some of the things that perhaps over the next year, are you launching any new programs? Or I do know you're launching a podcast. Is that right? Yeah, talk about that and anything else that you're working on.
I'm launching my podcast called Mastering Your 30s. I am fixated with 30s because I think they are very important ages. Mm-hmm. So in that podcast, I'm gonna have women in their 40s and beyond come and talk about their experiences, about if they are like a certain profession that can help women in their 30s, talk about their profession, or if they have any experience in their 30s that change their lifestyle, diet, health, or career, they will talk about this and guide women in their 30s about how to have a better use of their 30s. So this podcast is launching soon, and I'm also working on a portal where I will have the women in their 30s and also women beyond their 30s as a mentor, where we can connect them to each other so that they can be in use of each other, because I think 30s women, I always think 40s are like the second child. The first one, and 30s is the first child. With your first child, you don't know what you are doing. You are always like questioning yourself. But with the second one, you are like, that every problem has a solution, and you are more confident in yourself. So I want that confidence of 40s be the mentor for the 30s. So that's why we are launching several programs about women in their 30s. And we also have always our master program for mastering your 30s.
Awesome. Awesome. And say the name of the podcast one more time.
Mastering Your 30s.
Mastering Your 30s. I love it.
Mhm.
I love it. That's awesome. When will you be releasing your first episodes?
Well, hopefully next week we are starting to release the episodes, and we are also starting with the guest appearances too.
Fantastic. I love it. And if our listeners want to learn more about you or reach out to you, what's the best place for them to do that?
I think my website has all the outlets they can use. So if they go to www.healthandco.com, they can book an appointment, an introductory appointment. They can see our social handles, and soon they will be able to listen our podcast too.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, I've enjoyed getting to know you, learning a bit about your business, and
Thank you so much.
I can't wait to continue to see you thrive.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for hosting me.
Thank you for joining this week's episode of Flight Club, sponsored by Hera Hub. We look forward to sharing more success stories with you soon.